14th, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building.
Please rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to remember our troops abroad and their families here at home, and also to keep in our thoughts and prayers Patricia Vistine from 6th Avenue, a lifelong Belmar resident who passed away recently. Thank you. The council would like to join me on the dais for a couple of presentations. First is going to be from our friends at Central Jersey Bank. Hi, how are you?
I thought you'd be able to tear that apart. I sure
Hi,
could.
thank you. Hi.
Oh, that sheet right there is a map.
And we also have Franny Hines from our Belmar First Aid. You can come up forward too.
Ladies. Thank you.
Oh, yes. I'll hold the microphone for you. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Steck. I'm the manager of the Belmar Central Jersey Bank, a division of Kearney Federal Savings Bank. After Hurricane Sandy hit our shores, I couldn't help but think, how could we help? How could our bank help rebuild our community? So we're here tonight to present a donation of $7,500 to the Belmar Rescue Squad. Thank you.
I think I'm speechless, Matt, for once in my life. Thank you so much, really. Thank you so much.
Thanks for what you do.
We took a pretty good hit at the first aid squad, and our building got wiped out, and just about everything in it was destroyed. And we can't just close the doors and say, you know, call us in a couple months when we're ready. You know, we can't do that. So we have to run our operation, which includes probably 60 first aid calls a month, and we have to rebuild everything as well. So it's very stressful, and I'm proud to be a part of just a great organization. And this is going to go a long way. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your help. Central Jersey Bank for all your banking needs here in Belmar. Next, we're going to have a special presentation from Greg and Jerry and the Shark River Anglers. Are they here? Oh, okay, they're not here just yet.
You're out fishing.
They're out fishing. All right, well, that's it for our special presentations. So let's go back up on the dais and get back to work. Next item on our agenda was a scheduled budget hearing for the 2013 budget for the Special Improvement District. I've been notified by their executive director that they wish to pull the budget for tonight and come back at a later date. So we're going to hold off on having the hearing tonight on the Special Improvement District budget, and it looks like we'll do it sometime in February. It'll have to be a 30-day notice as it was this past time. So there'll be no vote on it. It'll be pulled from the resolution calendar as well. Next is our workshop discussions. First up will be our very good friend Greg Kapalka to talk about his idea of a temporary use proposal for his property on River Avenue.
Excuse me.
Okay, thanks. Good to see everybody again. I just, again, we're back a year or so down the line, and just want to let the council and everyone know that our engineer was working pretty diligently on our plan, and pretty much toward the end of October, we had a finished plan ready to submit to CAFRA with our site design and, of course, Sandy hit. As soon as the waters came through, and it was about 3 foot high in that area of the Pied Piper, we kind of knew that the flood grades were going to change in that area. So rather than submit the plan, we went back to the drawing board, and with the new FEMA flood grades, and they're at 11 at this point in time, and we're still waiting to hear final word from the state whether or not they're even going to be potentially a little bit higher. We are not able to submit that plan. Right after that time, I was contacted by Barry Belak. He is the landlord over at, he owns Evelyn's Associates, which is the actual owners of the 507 site, parking lot, and area over there. And he said, would we be interested in potentially doing something as early as this season in that area? And we got together and we spoke. And what his idea is that would we be willing to jumpstart our program over there by taking the Pied Piper out, doing potentially all the site work from the sidewalk out into the parking areas, redo the drainage, and create a riverwalk situation where we could have a mixture of different food places. And I've already contacted a number of displaced and Belmar food operations already that may be interested in this, and either move the 507 license there, or if we can work it out with the borough, potentially have the 507 license extend to there. And what I have, and I brought tonight, are a couple things. This is what we have here is something that of course we have the existing Piper, and we also have the up-to-date site plan, which I dropped off at Ms. Conley's office the other day, and I also have those for the council to look at, potentially of what we can do, and do in fact for the summer of 2013. With the beachfront being as it is, where we're probably not going to get concessions or permanent concessions back at least by this summer, we may have an opportunity to create another section of town between 507's, Klein's, and what we do across the street there to actually create a high interest area in Belmar that actually connects with the marina. The Belmar Riverwalk runs all the way along the marina, past the Pier 9 and underneath the bridge, and actually, comes out behind the dilapidated Piper building at this point in time. It's something that could be created on a temporary basis to kickstart for what we originally planned. Now, I have copies of the site plan, our original site plan and the amended site plan. We call it a phase 1 and phase 2, where the investment that we would be making would be quite extensive between the demolition of the building, creating of the 36 parking spaces, rerouting some underground drainage and putting in curbing and sidewalk, that would be identical to the phase 2 before construction would start. The thing we don't know, I mean, besides how long the actual CAFRA approvals are going to take before we can actually build there, is what the final grades are going to be. I mean, right now, we were going to be about a foot over grade before the storm hit. When we call it an 11 grade, for us to build on that site, we'd have to have retaining walls on both sides, on the water side and on the street side, of about 4.5 to 5 feet high, which is, for those that have seen Westport, if you've been on the back side of Westport, we have a retaining wall that runs along K Street, which kind of works into it. But in order for it to work there, they're the grades we'd have to be. Even before CAFRA changed the grades, we spoke to a number of potential tenants, restaurateur tenants, that be on the first floor, and so many people took a beating in the storm, it would really be almost impossible for us to rebuild a grade. Even if you could build a grade height, you wouldn't want to build a grade height, because even though this may only come along once every 20, 50, 100 years, you don't want it to come along and basically and knock you out of business. And you know, you want to be as safe as possible. And now with the grade changes, that's kind of what we think. Now, what we'd be asking the council, and again, we asked this before as we were progressing with this, if we came back with the temporary use, you know, would the council be interested in doing it? And you guys did say yes at the time. I do have a site plan that we're ready to go to a technical review committee and to planning board if the review committee approves it, you know, for us to actually start this project this spring and potentially be ready for the summertime. What we would want to know, what we would want to know before we would invest all that money into site work, before we could physically build these buildings, is you know, would the council be willing to extend or transfer that liquor license to that site? Because without it on that site, it probably wouldn't be worth the heavy cash outlay that we're going to do. And that would be a license that eventually, when the buildings were built, we would want on that site as a permanent either property owner or tenant. Now, I do have a couple copies of the site plans if the council would like to see them.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Okay. What you have in front of you there is the site plan, the projected site plan on what we plan on putting in. Which would include the 33 parking spaces, the garbage dumpster area, location of the building, water and sewer to the site, because of the rise in grade, walkways, and the buildings. And what we also have is the phase 1 site work, which is everything but raising the grades in the buildings. It would be all the parking, all the curbing, all the sidewalks. There would be plantings and shrubs, and there would be water and sewer also run into the site. So it's kind of like getting the first part of the project out of the way to rehabilitate the area, make it a focal point in town, and then to make it you know, a lively spot for food and drink and great place for people to gather.
Greg, who's got the liquor license now?
Well, the liquor license is it's the 507 license that we'll be talking about.
And is there a problem with just transferring it, or I don't know? I lost you there, I think.
Well, there's no. I mean, there'd be no problem in transferring it. I mean, would have to go to the local ABC, which would be the council, and the council would basically have to decide whether they would allow the transfer or not. What we would propose would be, if in fact it could be worked out, we would propose to extend the license. So potentially the license could be located, so that could almost be like the outside patio of that place.
Of 507.
Of 507, that would be correct. And I don't even know if it would still be 507. It's possible, you know, at this point, there's a lot of things that are under discussion, but that's what we are proposing.
It would stay on that physical site.
Which would
Stay at that physical site, the liquor license.
well.
It wouldn't be moving across to where the ice house is.
Well, actually, we want to move to where the ice house is. Okay, but if in fact it could be utilized in both locations, we would like to, you know, we would like that. Just from a simple storage plan, simple, you know, storage, a minimum of a storage plan.
Can I ask the municipal attorney, how does liquor license work? Do they stay with the address? I mean, what stops a liquor establishment from just saying, I own the property beside me too, I'm just gonna open up a bar there too? How's the law work?
Well, it's a bit more complicated than sort of just answering it in that sense. How does it work? I mean, it depends on the license. I mean, most of the licenses can follow the property area, but it just depends on the nature of the license and the application and the proposed use. So I can't give you an answer right now.
Is it basically up to us to decide whether we want to allow it to go over or not? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
I have a question. You're incorporating Klein's restaurant in this plan, is that correct?
But as it is now, you know, Ollie Klein is actually a partial tenant on the Pied Piper site right now. I mean, he leases storage space from us. He also leases parking from us, and he also leases an area to put his dumpster in. His garbage, his dumpsters, his recycling and whatnot. You know, Ollie's in Florida right now. I spoke to him, and there's a possibility in this plan that Ollie would be one of the food vendors on this site, and we're also going to make it work for his garbage disposal. Again, right now he has no place on his own site to really store his garbage at all. And you know, he really kind of needs that site, but we're also working with him to do that also. And also down the line, you know, when we build these buildings, we're also in discussions with clients to actually take one of these buildings for his restaurant, because of our 3 buildings, the building closest to his site, that, you know, that's what we've discussed also.
How many restaurants are you planning on the site?
Long term?
Yeah.
2. There's 3 buildings on the site plan in front of Ms. Doherty, and buildings 1 and building 2.
And with the living quarters, could you talk about that a little bit? You have mixed use, so there's going to be apartments?
There'll be 10 residential units on site. There'll be 4 in building 1, 4 over building 2, and 2 over building 3. Each one will be 16 to 1,700 square foot bi-level unit. They'll either be residential apartments or they'll be condos. They could be either or. We haven't decided which way to go. If the market's good, you know, we would sell them, but if not, we would be prepared to lease them. Each unit would be at least 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and each one would have its own parking. So it would, and they would all be very upscale units.
All ADA compliant?
All ADA compliant. We actually, on our plan, in building 1 and building 2, which have 4 residential units in each, 2 units in each building will have their own personal elevators. The other 2 will be equipped for an option elevator, and the building with 2 units, one will have an elevator. So 5 of the 10 units will have elevators in them, their own personal elevator. So whether it's your condo or apartment, you have your own elevator.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Greg? And just your time frame again?
Yeah.
Our time frame is we'd like to get to the technical review committee as soon as possible to go over all the details with them. Again, we have a completed we believe it's a fully completed Phase 1 site plan. And also at the time, when we go to that meeting, we'll also have the Phase 2 site work pending CAFR approval. So what we would like at that meeting, we would like them to approve the site work we can do now, so we can get ready for the summer of 2013, and for them to send us to the planning board. That's what we'll be looking for.
Do you have any idea about how long the CAFRA process would take?
Normal CAFR approval, they told us, is roughly 6 to 8 months when your application is deemed complete. But if we send our application in today and the final grades aren't firmly established, if the grades change in the middle of it, the clock starts back again. So that's why we haven't sent it into CAFRA. And we also wanted to get, and again, we also want to get our, since we have our final site plan now, we also want to get the technical review committee approval and planning board approval also. So, you know, we'd be prepared for 1 or 2 summers as temporary use. And if we get CAFRA approval anytime in 2013 or early 2014, start construction no later than September of 2014. But in the interim, the building would be removed, the site work would be completed. It would look, I mean, we believe it'll be one of the more terrific spots in Belmar, combined with Klein's down in that neck of the woods, and create an area that doesn't really abut residential housing. And I think it would be, a, you know, a boon to the town.
Who owns the license now? And are you pretty certain you can buy from them, or?
Oh no, I'm not going to operate. I'm a landlord. No, we're developers. Okay, you know, we're going to be working with either the current license holders, or if new people come in, the new people. I mean, you know, we were approached by the owners of that site, and also with that, the owners of the 507 site are interested in doing something along with us as far as future development of that site once we build. So that's almost a Phase 3. But up to now, they were very what's the word I'm looking for? They were very matter of fact about even though Evelyn's Associates does not own the license is owned by the current owners over there. That license, their agreement, that license can never be transferred from that piece of property unless it's either sold or the landlord approves it. It's the landlord who approached us to move this license, because he eventually wants that site developed also. And we're again, my partner Brett and I here, we're just on the tail end finishing our project over on Route 71. We should be out of there in 2013 complete, and we were actually ready to start this spring until the storm. So it's a setback to us also. So we're trying to salvage something with this temporary use. And again, we would be interested, as far as food vendors are concerned, anyone that was on Ocean Avenue that got wasted by the storm, we will be happy to sit down with them and try to accommodate them to be part of this also.
I think you had mentioned the parking spots, 36, I think you had said?
Yes.
Does that include the people in the condos or apartments? Is that spots covering them as well, or just the restaurant space?
The spaces, the spaces that we have planned to put there are right now they're for multiple use.
Okay.
Would there be any other commercial businesses coming into that plan?
Well, the third building, when you say, what do you mean other businesses?
As opposed to restaurants?
The third building it's undecided of what those businesses would be. We would be open to the right mix. I mean, Brett has a number of commercial spots in Belmar and in Lake Como. I have spots in Belmar too. We've done a pretty good job in the past as commercial tenant mix. I mean, there's no question that restaurant use is the best use for the 2 bigger buildings, especially if you can get established people in town. You just can't beat the view.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think it's a good project for us to support.
Very much so. That whole area needs revitalization.
And you know that someone came before us and regarding the old Havens and Hamptons property across the street from you. You know, I think it would be a great improvement to the area. I know you know, it's nice to see someone who's willing to put those type of dollars into our community also, and make investment to increase our ratables. And I'm sure there'll be a big party once the old ice house is torn down.
Believe me, we actually, believe it or not, today I met with a demolition man, and again, one of the things now with a lot of people don't understand as far as the repercussions of Sandy is, as far as construction is concerned, it's, you know, all the construction materials prices are going through the roof, and it's hard to get, you know, good people to work in a timely fashion. It's almost the same thing with your site operators right now, because everyone is, you know, everyone is really busy. But, you know, through the years, both Brett and I have had really good relationships with a number of really competent, you know, companies that, you know, I was told today by the fellow we met with today that he'd have no problem, you know, getting that building out in about 3 days. But there is one other thing, is that, and again, Ms. Conley and I were talking about this the other day, prior to the storm, I believe the borough was having the roads and everything and the parking areas redone back in this area. One of the things that kind of spurred us on a little bit is that we would also like to do that at the same time, so everything finishes properly. Again, for them to stop and not finish in front of there would make it look like there's something missing, and that is something that, you know, we would also want to, whether, you know, that is something we also want to try to do also, is to get the site work that we're going to do and the borough's going to do done timely.
No, I understand. I think it's a good project for us to refer on.
Absolutely.
We could save you money with the demolition, I'll take a whack at it.
Everyone here will go over.
Put it down,
Believe me, you know, we're ready to start in the project. So the thing is that if Mr. Billette didn't come to us with this, we probably would be sitting waiting for CAFRA. So we like the idea. We've been working hard on it. We spent a lot of time and dollars in revising all our site work and everything like that. And we've done a lot of legwork with potential, you know, vendors and tenants to make part of this project. And again, we just, you know, as long as you send us on and we can, you know, our professionals can work with the town's professionals, I think we can definitely get this done timely.
Thank you. Do we need a resolution to move this forward to just go to TDRC and Planning Board? Sure. I'll offer a motion to forward this project on to both of them.
Second.
Councilman Decker?
Yes.
Councilman Belmar?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes. Next, we're going to talk about a redevelopment area and ask William Northgrave, our redevelopment attorney, to come up and explain what this would mean, where it would cover, and how it works.
Can I get my bag on the ground?
I don't.
Come on, Mayor. No. Read it over. Read it over.
Let's start with,
You've got two resolutions before you tonight. Both of it is the first step in a process. The first is what's called an area in need of rehabilitation. What you're doing, or what you're considering doing, is referring over to the planning board for their review and recommendation a resolution that would designate the entire town as an area in need of rehabilitation. We had talked about that. We had gone back and forth on it several times, but given the recent events, seemed like it was probably a really good step at this point. What it gives you is it gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of zoning. It also allows you, where appropriate, to do short-term tax exemptions. In other words, if you can exempt improvements people make to their property. So if somebody decides they want to invest $50,000, but they're not sure that they can take on the added burden that would come with that on a tax basis, you can exempt that on various different programs, but schedules as to how you would do that. It would extend over 5 years. So that's the primary intent there. So that it would give you, again, some flexibility trying to deal with what has turned into some very trying times.
And if I could add to that, one of the things we discussed was how many homes were negatively impacted by Hurricane Sandy, and many of them are older homes. So as people make improvements to these older homes, now maybe the time they put addition on and some other improvements, and what this would allow the town to do is abate those taxes, so they're not penalized for the improvements they make because of this hurricane. The number of properties is off the charts, so it's not as if we're looking to do it in one area or another. It makes sense to do it for the whole town. This in no way negatively impacts anyone's property values by saying the town's in need of rehabilitation. It just allows us, for both residential and commercial, correct? To allow, to provide tax abatements so that people, when they do make improvements, don't have to worry about the added burden of taxes hitting them within year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to be as aggressive as possible, as the state will allow us, to push those taxes out as far as possible. Talking with Bill, one other town, much larger than ours, that had done something like this in the past, not in response to a storm, but just because they wanted to, was Woodbridge Township, 26 square miles compared to 1 square mile, and it seems to work well there. So this is nothing that would cost taxpayers money. It doesn't reduce taxes. It's not saying that the taxes on Claire Dykey's house would go down, so my taxes would go up. It's revenue neutral. What it does is it just doesn't add more tax burden to the people who are making improvements to their home anywhere in town. And we'll do it for a certain number of years. Aside from helping people repair their homes, it'll also help people, or it's intended to spur people to improve the homes that they may not have improved to start with. So that's the rehabilitation part. Does anyone have any questions for Bill on that?
Yeah. Is it the abatement just for 5 years, or you can you have 5 years to rebuild and not increase your taxes?
The abatement would run from the period of time that you would receive a certificate of completion, in other words, a CO, for that improvement. So the program would run, it wouldn't run, assuming you adopt it in this calendar year, it wouldn't only run until 2018. If you didn't get around to putting that improvement on until 2014, you could abate from 2014 to 2019. So it would run from the time the improvement is
and then when your taxes go up after 2019?
They would. Then it would revert. Then that exempted portion would go on the improvements portion of your tax bill.
What about those people that have to raise their homes because of the flooding? I know going before the zoning board, is that going to increase the value of their home, the fact that they have to raise it, or is that going to be something that's for the zoning board?
Yeah, I don't. That would probably have to be a conversation that I can have and your township borough attorney can have with your tax assessor. That's kind of a gray area. It's not. I'm not sure if that would necessarily be an improvement. If it is, then you could abate that improvement. But it may be very well that that's considered more of a repair than an improvement. If it's a repair, again, I would defer to your municipal attorney and your tax assessor, but I think that if it was a repair, it would likely be considered, would not affect your tax rate.
Assuming we pass this tonight, when would this go into effect?
Well, it's a several-step process. It would have to go to the planning board. They would review it, determine that in fact the criteria have been met, make a recommendation to you, would come back to you, you would vote on it at that time to adopt it. And then you would either that night or shortly thereafter, you could adopt an ordinance that would address the parameters. You would need to adopt a town-wide ordinance to address the parameters of your tax abatement program. and then as each homeowner makes improvements, they would apply under ordinance 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, you know, that might be. So it would be, you're not talking a long lead time. I would think it would be, Mayor makes me go very, very aggressive on my timetable, so I'm loath to give you any date as I stand here, because I know whatever I say, he's going to cut it by 75%, but let me suffice to say, in short order you'll have it. Yeah, in short order you'll have it.
Time and fashion, thank you.
Yes.
I just have one more question. So if I put on a new roof because it's destroyed by the storm, in 5 years, I would be taxed on that new roof. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think a roof, and again, I don't want to go that far, but I think a roof is a repair. It's not an improvement.
Okay.
So I don't think your taxes would increase by putting a new roof on. If you popped a dormer in and added some square footage, and you would naturally have to put a new roof on that, then yeah, that would probably be an improvement. Yeah.
But if I put on a deck next week, that wouldn't be considered, well, that would be considered.
That probably would be considered an improvement, yeah.
So you would have 5 years before.
Yeah, you could, yeah. Yeah, and the idea, and I think the mayor hit on it, the idea is if you're going to make, if you're going to put on a deck, and you're going to have this abatement will be available to you for the deck, and you could put on a dormer, you could put on a, whatever, you're encouraging investment in the community that although it's not raising your neighbor's taxes, it's raising the value of your neighbor's home, because as the improvements go, we all like to see our neighbors adding money to their real estate, 'cause it affects ours.
Is 40A:12A-1,
That's the local redevelopment housing law.
is that what we're talking about? Is this what you're,
I'm not sure what you have right in front
That's
of
the
you.
number, because this is 30 pages double-sided, if this is what you're
The law?
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, the law, that's absolutely.
I mean, is this 60 pages needed just to provide a tax abatement? I mean, can't we do that locally without passing a whole 60-page ordinance?
I don't think you have a 60-page ordinance in front of you.
Okay.
I think you have the local redevelopment and housing law in front of you.
I took the number that was on the,
Right.
and
That's the statute that governs the area in need of rehab is one section in the local redevelopment and housing law, but you're not adopting that. That's just what you're acting pursuant. That's the state's permission for this body to take action is embodied in the local redevelopment and housing law.
Okay.
And that's 40A:12A-1 EdSec.
okay, is the only way to provide tax abatement is to follow this path, or could we do something else?
No, there's very few, basically the Constitution provides that every property is going to be taxed, except where there is an exception. And the exceptions are, several exceptions. One of them is an area in need of redevelopment, area in need of rehab, and in limited urban enterprise zones, you can do some tax abatements. But that is, standing here, that's all I can recall that would allow you to do abatements or exemption. I'm sorry, would allow you to do abatements. Exemptions is a whole different animal.
Because the one building in town that we just had put up, we gave them a tax abatement as well.
No, that's an exemption. There's the difference. The abatement is NJSA 48:21-1 EdSec. That's the 48:21-1 that's the 5-year abatement statute.
Okay.
NJSA 48:20-1 EdSec is the long-term tax exemption statute. That is what the project 800 Main, that's 800 Main is a tax exemption, and that's a different program.
But it accomplishes the same thing, essentially?
No, it really doesn't. It's kind of an exemption. An exemption basically allows you to lower the taxes for a 30-year period, so that you would encourage the development of that project. But for the exemption, the project likely doesn't get built. So in that way, it's somewhat similar to the abatement. But really, the abatement is more of just an encouragement. Is usually more on a smaller scale. It's only for a 5-year period, but it's also on a smaller scale. It tends to be, lot by lot. Whereas with that project, you added, if I remember correctly, 12 12 or 14 residential units, and then, a number of square feet of retail space.
And Mayor, after the council's done, Ted had emailed me a bunch of questions about it I could not answer. If we would allow the public to ask the lawyers some questions as well. If you don't mind.
What question?
Ted, you'd email me?
Yeah.
No, it's not a public portion of that.
Okay, I just want to make sure you can talk to the
Before
lawyer.
you vote on it, can the public have?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
So, as each project, improvement project comes forward, the planning board reviews it?
No, what would happen is you would adopt an ordinance that would basically set forth the framework.
Okay.
If you, the following, because you can limit, if you cared to, you can limit it only to residential, only to retail, only to commercial, what have you. And then, a homeowner, a property owner would come in, show that they meet the criteria, and then they would get the abatement pursuant to ordinance 1234. It wouldn't require separate action by this body or the planning board once you adopt that ordinance, pursuant to the normal process.
Are we limiting it to residential?
I don't think so. That's not the conversation I had, but Ken, I think that was above my, yeah.
No, I mean,
Businesses and?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was borough-wide. I just want to make clear that, that sometimes Newark, for example, limited their 5-year abatements to residential, especially in the one particular program.
So this is everything borough-wide? That's
It's
available to
everything, yeah. But again, it's a policy call. That's, you could say to me, draft it this way. I'm not suggesting or recommending that you should, but
But you want it more open, I guess?
I would.
Flexibility.
The greater flexibility you have, the greater investment you have in the town.
So we can help people.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
again, the idea is that if you're gonna make improvements to your property or your business, and we'll set a sunset date. So whatever that is, we'll set it. Let's say it's 2 years. If you do it in the next 2 years, then whatever the taxes that would be levied on that improvement would be abated. So this wouldn't be a pilot payment in lieu of taxes, which is what we have at 800 Main. This would be completely separate, completely different. This would just take away the immediate tax burden of improving your property. And, again, we had a lot of properties that were damaged by Sandy all throughout town. And sort of to Councilman McGovern's example, it's not so much replacing roof, siding, thing like that, but if someone had a bungalow, maybe it's 1 story, now they want to go to 2 stories. Well, that second story would have been taxed the following year. Something like that would be abated
Because it's an improvement.
for 5 years, right? But it obviously increases the value of that property. And, if done the right way, in theory, it should increase the value of all the surrounding properties as well.
And just to be clear, the abatement is only on the improvement. It's not if your property is now valued at $300,000 and you put a $40,000 improvement, what gets abated is just the 40. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was clear to whoever might be listening.
So it's repair versus improvement, improvement, not repair.
Improvement, you would abate an improvement. Repair, you don't have to.
Right.
Right. And again, that's I don't I don't profess to be a property tax specialist. I believe that that's correct. That it's as to there's just a repair. I can't imagine a repair would result in a reassessment because you fixed your roof.
Right. Any other questions on rehabilitation? If not, then we'll go to redevelopment.
Okay.
2 separate things.
Right.
Any questions on rehab? Let's talk about redevelopment.
Okay. Redevelopment. What we had talked about was how can we best accelerate, if you will, the rebuilding of Ocean Avenue and some of the downsides and upsides. It's I have not witnessed firsthand the devastation. I have gotten to within a couple of blocks of Ocean Avenue, and that was close enough. It apparently is quite extensive. So what we had talked about was maybe declaring all of Ocean Avenue from one end to the other an area in need of redevelopment. That brings with it, although it can be very, very helpful in terms of opening up a whole number of tools to you, again, zoning, but also long-term tax exemptions, which can be very helpful in terms of, there's a variety of different ways to use it, but the most obvious is, somebody can make an investment and we can limit their tax burden for a certain period of time to a rate that works, that fits in a pro forma. The downside was if you started to declare, and the local redevelopment and housing law is pretty clear that if you have an area greater than 5 acres that has been destroyed from tornado, hurricane, Superstorm Sandy is not actually listed in the local redevelopment and housing law, but it should be, then it would meet the criteria to be declared an area in need of redevelopment. But when I raised this with the mayor and we kicked it around a little bit, one of the things we didn't want to do is to send a shiver down homeowners or property owners along Ocean Avenue. That they're perhaps, because the other thing that comes with an area in need of redevelopment designation is condemnation. So you don't want to send the message that this is going to be that anybody's property is going to be taken. So what we did is we limited it from the curb line to the ocean. In other words, it's all public property that you're declaring here. And what it does, it gives you the flexibility to, once you get your boardwalk rebuilt, figure out what we're going to do in terms of pavilions, in terms of rebuilding what was there. It gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of how to do it, and it also gives you the ability to do it in a number of ways. You can do it block by block, you can do it piece by piece, you can do it a master redeveloper and break pieces up. There's a whole lot of different options that you can use that will help you get that rebuilt in the quickest time, and to attract developers in who can assist you and perhaps even get it done for you pursuant to a redevelopment agreement. And I think that's the main goal.
Yeah, just to add a couple comments. In the borough of Belmar, we're in a few towns in the state of New Jersey that prohibits a municipality from taking private property, whether it be residential or commercial, to turn over to a developer, so the area we're talking about is simply the boardwalk for all practical purposes. And what this allows us to do is to negotiate with developers if we want to pursue private investment up on the beachfront. So, for instance, let's take a building like the 13th Avenue Pavilion, what the piece was. This would allow us, if we choose, which we don't have to, but if we choose, it would allow us the opportunity to do an RFP and negotiate with a builder, developer, restaurateur that building. Have them build it, their own capital, and then pay us a land lease, which is very similar to what we did at the marina. So what we're looking to do is take the success we've had at the marina and apply it to the beachfront. Now, we're looking to put the buildings back up on the beachfront in time for Memorial Day of 2014. There's no chance of us doing it beforehand, and practically speaking, it would make sense to try to do it over the summer. And what this allows us is the opportunity to do a private-public partnership, as opposed to in the past where the town built and owned and then leased out the properties. In this case, we could have someone else build it while we still retain the land and do a land lease. But it also, if we choose as a council not to go that route, certainly we don't have to. We could go back to the old style as well. So what this does is gives us some flexibilities when it comes to rebuilding the pavilions up on the board.
And they would be able to take advantage of this program.
Well, without a redevelopment area in place, we wouldn't be able to negotiate. We would have to have people come, stand with the microphone where Bill is, and just, you have to give it to the highest bidder. Whether that's a good operator or a bad operator, you got to give it to the highest bidder.
Well, it's also, if I could, Mayor, if I could interject here, because that's kind of the heart of what this is. You can attract people who are willing to spend the money to come forward with a concept. Here's what I'm going to do on the 13th Avenue Pavilion. It's not going to be you can go to qualitative in addition to quantitative analysis in terms of who you want to do. a lot of developers are going to look at it and say, you know what, I'm not going to try to outbid, you know, John Jones, because I know he's going to lowball it, and it's not going to be the concept that the town is looking for. So you can have somebody stand here. I heard Mr. Kapalko's presentation. You know, if he were a developer who was coming forward, you can listen to his presentation and say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. And you know, it's not, maybe he's saying he's going to pay us, you know, $500 less a year in the lease, but he's giving us what we want. He's giving us the look we want. He's giving us the operation we want. And he's a known quantity. He's done business here in town. We know him as opposed to a developer who comes from Suffern, New York, and you know, you've never seen him before. So there's that flexibility as well, and that's one of the real strong pieces here, is it gives you the ability as a council to really look at these ideas and say, that's what Belmar's boardwalk should look like for the next, you know, 20 years or what have you, whatever the useful life of the buildings is.
20 years. Any questions on redevelopment?
All right, well, that's another resolution that's on for tonight.
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind sticking around, just in case we do have any questions from the public.
It's just, if I could, any idea? I'm being asked to be in Hoboken, but I don't have to be there till 9. I have a council meeting at 9. I'm not asked to go anywhere else.
We'll get you out of here.
If you can, if you can't, yeah, I made the commitment to be here first, so
Right.
whatever time you need is the time you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's no public comment, right?
No, I wanted to know if the attorney has a copy of the resolution you're voting on tonight.
Should be.
I drafted.
Next
Does he
up.
have the entire?
Excuse me?
I'm asking, does he have a copy of the entire
Don't we have copies
resolution?
up here? He doesn't have a copy. We have copies up here. Do you want a copy?
No, does he have?
Does he have a copy of the resolution?
Right.
Do you?
I wrote it.
He wrote it.
Then
Oh,
yes, yes.
Did you have questions? Next on our workshop is the new advisory flood maps and elevations. This is something that Colleen's been talking to and working with FEMA on, so you want to sort of
Sure, and
talk
we're
about
going to
this?
ask our floodplain administrators to come up and join us and introduce Tiffany and Bob Torrance, who can help walk us through the impacts of the new adjusted advisory-based flood elevations. You know, we have them here posted at the front of the council chambers. We're also going to make these available online tomorrow so that you can go to our website and view them yourself. What I think is important to highlight before I turn it over to the real experts is that these are elevations that were determined prior to Hurricane Sandy. These maps have been in the works for a couple of years. It was part coincidence that they came into a landing right after Hurricane Sandy. So I don't want folks to take a look at these and think these are reflective of the flooding that we experienced during the hurricane. They are not. And you'll notice that some of the changes or lack of changes are interesting in light of the experience that we had at Sandy. So one that I would highlight is that the elevations around Silver Lake have not adjusted. They are still the previous elevations. So the maps that you see here that you'll see on our website basically right now reflect any changes to the existing maps. So if your property is not impacted by these pink, yellow, and red areas, the previous elevations will hold, okay? These are advisory maps at this point. FEMA releases them. They have a very detailed public comment period that they go through. We are looking at FEMA adopting these, the federal government adopting these in 2013. But there are many advantages for local municipalities to adopt these now. One, it helps get the information to our residents as quickly as possible, so that as they are recovering from Sandy and rebuilding, they understand what the rules are going to be for 2013, might as well build to them now. Second, and I'll let Bob talk about some of these things, adopting these shows that the borough is acting in good faith in terms of preparing for the next emergency. So there are benefits to doing that, and benefits that trickle down to our homeowners in terms of potential discounts on their flood insurance. Okay, so with that, maybe Bob or Ted could fill in whatever gaps I missed, and I'm sure I did.
Sure.
If you look at the maps, there's basically 4 areas that are subject to flooding in Belmar. There's along the waterfront, there's the area around Lake Como, the area around Silver Lake, and the area in the Shark River inlet and the Shark River itself. 3 of them changed along the waterfront. Up near the beach, the elevations went up by 5 feet, but the area didn't change. The area stayed the same, so the flood area in that area didn't get any bigger. The area around Lake Como, the elevations went up 2 or 3 feet there. There were 2 elevations there, now it's 1. They went from 8 or 9 feet to 12 feet. The area in that area did expand a little bit, a couple blocks. The area up on Shark River, the area in the inlet went up by 2 feet. The area in the Shark River back by the marina went up by 1 foot. And the area along River Road did expand there slightly, a couple blocks. FEMA issued these maps so that people who are considering raising their houses or rebuilding or building new houses will know estimates of what the new elevations will be when the maps come out. They told us that the elevations that are here are pretty accurate. They actually may go down a little bit, but they don't anticipate them going up. So people who build to these maps now can be fairly reasonably assured that they'll be in good shape when the new maps are adopted.
So, Bob, could you explain for the folks, because I know you helped me to understand, we've heard a lot about this V-zone.
Yeah, the V-zone is up at the beach. That's the area that's subject to wave action, specifically 3 feet or more. These are going to be waves that are coming off the ocean, and that is right along Ocean Avenue. For the most part, it ends at the curb line, the west curb line, so it doesn't affect the houses that are on Ocean Avenue. Once you get down past 16th or 17th Avenue, it does start to encroach on the people's property. So some of the houses down there, if they were rebuilt, would have to be built to the new standards.
To the new elevation?
Yes.
And the elevation for the V-zone again is?
It was 10 feet.
It's going to 15.
It's now going to 15. So there's a significant difference down there.
What that practically means is that you should elevate your home
Yes.
5 feet.
Well, a lot of the area on Ocean Avenue is already above 10 feet. So some of it's between 11 and 13 feet. So it would only be 2 or 3 feet above the ground. But yeah, those homes that are in that V zone would need to be elevated above that elevation. And those homes can't have foundations. They would be up on columns or piers because they want the water to be able to go underneath them.
And just to give people an idea, on the maps, those are the homes that are on Ocean Avenue from 20th south.
It actually starts a little bit farther, like I think around 18th. It starts cutting in there.
Not on that.
That map, the advisory maps are hard to tell because the line is actually so wide. The line is probably 50 to 60 feet wide on the map, so it's hard to
So
tell.
you're saying essentially from 18th Avenue south?
South, yes.
Okay, I mean, so it's really for residential, it's 19th Avenue south. So for those homes. And then the next thing on our agenda is going to address the heights, but I didn't need to run. No, go ahead.
So that's the V zone. They did come up with they have been working on this. They came up with a new zone. It's called a coastal A zone. A zones are areas that's basically still standing water. There isn't a whole lot of wave action. They have come out with a new zone, which is the coastal A zone, which are areas back in the Shark River, on the Shark River Inlet, and in Lake Como, where they do expect a limited wave action, where it would be between 1.5 feet and 3 feet, which still has impact on homes because you have waves beating on the houses. There are criteria for building in those areas, and again, that's a new area, so that if you were to adopt these maps, those people that rebuild in those areas would be required to build to those kind of standards, which will help them in any future storm.
Would that be considered a repair or an improvement, according to our FFA?
Yeah, I was wondering about the abatement.
I'm not an expert on taxes, but if they're taking their home and putting it back to the way it was before, that would be a repair. I don't know about elevating homes, whether that increases the value of the house or not.
That was the abatement.
We can find out, that's actually the call of the tax assessor, not the attorney or the.
That's technical.
But if they have to, basically, if FEMA's telling them they have to raise it.
The only people that are required right now to raise their homes would be somebody whose house is destroyed and they're rebuilding, or somebody's home which is considered significantly damaged, which is the cost to bring the house back to the way it was before the storm would equal to or exceed 50% of the value of the structure itself. So we would have to go through that with the homeowner, see how much it's going to cost, and determine whether it's a significant damage or not. We've already done some assessments of all the houses that are in the flood zone. We've used FEMA guidelines to do those assessments, and there are only a handful of houses that are considered significantly damaged. I have met with some other homeowners who the FEMA program didn't assess as being significantly damaged, but when they started getting estimates, they weren't. And there is money available from FEMA for people who are in the flood zone who have flood insurance to help them with the cost of raising their houses.
And this new map is that it's increased 2 feet in different areas. This is comparing to, what was the last one?
The old
A year ago, 5 years ago?
They did some revisions in 2009. Before that, I think the latest revision before that was sometime in the 80s.
Oh, really? It's not typically every 3 to 5 years?
No, the studies are very expensive, and they don't do them often. They were working on this study because they knew that along the coast, a lot of the data that they had was completely out of date and not real good data anyway, so they knew that they needed to do this. This was in the works, like Colleen said, before that. They sort of rushed these maps out. They weren't completely done with their study, so they rushed these maps out with what they had available just to make them, people aware of what was going to be coming.
So prior to the newest map, we did not have any homes or residents in flood zone. Is that correct?
Oh, no. There were plenty of houses within the flood zone. And like I said, the flood areas have only expanded slightly. So there's not a whole lot more people that are in the flood zone right now. Now, these are advisory maps. People who are now in these flood zones will not be required to buy flood insurance right now. When the official maps come out in July of this year, there's about a 2-year period for comment and appeal. They'll be adopted in 2015. Then when those people are now in the official flood zone, if they have a mortgage, they'll be required to buy flood insurance.
I have a question. It's money you receive from FEMA, do you have to declare that as tax income for the next year on your income taxes? Do you know?
I don't know.
Does anybody know?
I don't know.
I don't. We can find out for sure. Any other questions on the maps?
I would just like to offer, Bob made mention of it, but upon the adoption of these maps by the municipalities, our residents who do want to pursue elevation because they're impacted by the adjustments would be eligible to apply for a $30,000 grant with FEMA to help subsidize the cost of that.
Yes, and people who have flooding or the houses were below the current flood elevation are already eligible for that money. If we decide to adopt these maps and elevate the flood elevation, additional people would be eligible for these money. I have met with people who were in the flood zone who were flooded, who wanted to raise their homes and wanted to get the ICC money, but they couldn't get it because their houses were already above the flood elevation. So we might be able to help some people by adopting this map now.
Thank you, gentlemen. That actually leads into our next workshop discussion, which is regarding amending the height limit for residential properties. Right now, we have residents who are coming into the zoning board because they want to raise their home. But let's say it's a two-story home, and they're already at the limit for what a residential property can be, but they want to raise their home 5 feet because of the damage they suffered, whether they live around Silver Lake, Lake Como, K Street, or along Ocean Avenue. So instead of them having to come before the board and pay for the expense of the board, you know, one of the ideas was to amend our zoning that would allow residential properties, and we still have to figure out the height, to go up to a taller height to accommodate then increasing the size for the columns. Now, when I was down past Christiane, I saw them do this, and one of the requirements, which makes sense, is that that space couldn't be a living space. So it would have to be on columns. Maybe allow a certain amount for storage. Maybe some people would want to park the car under it. At the same time, one of the things I saw down there was the difference between houses built on just columns and houses built on columns that also had lattice work around them. So with the lattice work, it looks more like a solid structure. So while it may be 42 feet high and the limit's only 38, that extra 4 feet doesn't look like gap teeth. It looks like a solid structure. So that's something we'd like to look at. Again, just for those areas that are going to be impacted by this flood map. So if you're not in that area and you still want to do it, you could always go before the zoning board. But for the ones in that area, it seems to make sense to allow them through zoning to increase the height of their home to comply with the elevation of the maps that we as a governing body are choosing to approve. And, you know, based on the last storm, they seem pretty accurate.
So those in the area would not have to go to zoning?
Correct.
Totally could just go into what you need.
There would still be a max height, right? We'd have to set what that is based on the flood elevation. So again, if the max height today is 38 feet and you live in a zone that just went up 5 feet, well, the max height would be 43 feet. But you couldn't have a 43-foot residential with 100% living space. That 5 feet or 6 feet, whatever it may be on the first floor, you couldn't have any living space in. So we're not looking to increase the size of the homes. We're just looking to remove the impediment to people complying, residents complying with the new map that we're looking to adopt as a governing body.
Do we have an idea, or can we anticipate how many homes or how many people would be interested in doing this? Do you have a rough idea?
Not really. I mean, that's...
I can tell you there's high interest. We get a lot of questions, and our folks have been, Bob and Ted have been great in helping homeowners to help make that determination. How many fit that equation of the 50% or greater damage than the value of their home? Not as many make it through that test. But, there is high interest. People are very eager to know what their options are.
And I think in our last zoning board meeting, and the clerk can clarify this, I believe we had 2 applications for what we're talking about. Whereas in the past, how many applications have we ever had for people to raise their home to accommodate for flood? Right. So this is going to be a new phenomenon and trend going forward.
They pulled their request.
I think it's something we want to get ahead of, so we have the zoning in place to accommodate these changes.
Good. Do we run into a problem with the house on your left and the house on your right both go up? You're stuck in the middle with 2 small houses. Anybody complaining or suing for taking away your...
The first 5 minutes of the meeting.
Well, I'm not an attorney, but from what I understand, you can sue anyone over anything at any time. But you could better address that. I mean, if that's a good question. What if someone just says, I don't want it? So the neighbors next to them are like, well, it's a smart thing to do. If you want it.
I mean, you're taking that as a zoning board.
I'll get together with
By ordinance or resolutions.
again, if I did something to my house now, and the zoning board approved it, and my neighbor objected to it, they could still sue.
Well, like you said, anybody can sue for anything, but if the zoning board approves it,
That's why we need a attorney.
And Colleen, what's the 50% rule?
If the cost of the repairing the substantial damage to your home caused by Sandy exceeds 50% of your home market value,
The
correct?
structure,
The structure,
not including the land,
not
just the
including the
structure.
land,
So not the value, but the structure itself.
the structure
Yeah,
itself.
the value of the structure
The cost
itself.
to repair.
The cost to repair.
Okay, 50% or more.
Of the structure of your home. Value of it. And if not, they're not able to do it.
Oh, they could,
Okay.
they're just not required.
They're not required and they're not eligible for money from FEMA to defray those costs.
They can still do it. And
they don't.
people are interested,
There are people that are going to do it on their own.
regardless of the equation.
I guess that's a good question. If someone's gonna build new construction in the V zone that went from 10 feet to 15 feet, will they be required to put the house on stilts?
It'll have to be on pilings or columns.
15 feet.
To rebuild it brand new, but if they're now livable, they don't have to change it.
They're not gonna be required to change it now.
That's like a
If they're not doing any work to the house or the repairs are less than 50% of the value of the house, they're not required to do it.
But that's a good point. If they're required to do it, it's kind of silly for us to force them to do it before the zoning board. Any questions on amending height limits, residential properties? All right. So that's it for our workshop discussion. Next, do we have any petitions from the audience for the council for any reason? Nope? Okay. I'll ask the council president to make a motion regarding the minutes.
Yes. I move that the minutes of the January 3rd, 2013 meeting be approved and posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Governor?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next are reports of the council.
How about if I go first?
That'd be lovely.
Great. I had met with the Shade Tree Commission and the Environmental Commission. And the Shade Tree Commission kind of set down Saturday, April 20th for the redevelopment of the Silver Lake Island, which is going to be the weekend closest to Earth Day. I had a very informative meeting with a Belmar lifetime resident and professional landscaper, Carolyn Sykes, and she was terrific. She gave me so much information. Carolyn, didn't know you were there.
Carol's here in the audience tonight.
And I think we could really make it into a real nice community project with the Environmental Commission on board, try and get the Arts Council, Boy Scouts, the first aid, I've talked to the first aid, and any other volunteers. We can make it, Earth Day weekend where we replant that Silver Lake Island and really make it look like a top-notch place in Belmar. Also met with the Environmental Commission, and they did speak to me, and they would like to have more of a voice going forward with any plans that we have in repairs to Sandy. Like the sustainability of the buildings that are going up on Ocean Avenue, the boardwalk, dunes on the beach. And so they would just like to be able to give their ideas towards, to the council or to anybody making plans for in the future. They really are very informative, and they're not against development, they're just for good development, especially environmentally so. And also, we looked into the First Avenue Beach. Some of the shrubs and the trees on First Avenue Beach were destroyed. A lot of debris over there. We'd like to get that cleaned up in time for the spring when the seabirds start to return, and make it a real nice bird sanctuary for the summer like it's been for the last number of years. So that's what I have for today there, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
Council President Dyke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please remember our ADA special program on the autism spectrum, Thursday, January 24th at 7 p.m. at the Belmar School Auditorium. Please use the 11th Avenue entrance. Vincent Balistrieri Sr., a behavior specialist, and Vincent Balistrieri Jr., a school psychologist from the Missing Piece Parent Support Services, will be presenting a most informative program on the topic. Early diagnosis and early intervention are keys in helping children on the spectrum succeed in life. Eastern Dental Family Practice Group is sponsoring a free day of dental care for children on Friday, February 1st. The program is entitled Give Kids a Smile, and it's a day of free dental services. To schedule an appointment, you can call 1-800-982-5529. There are 21 Eastern Dental offices located throughout New Jersey. Since the library basement is still not available, the following library-sponsored programs are being held at the Bella Buddha Studio, 921 Main Street. Zumba Gold, Tuesday at 11 a.m., Meditation, Wednesday at 11:15, and Chair Yoga at 11 o'clock on Thursday. The charge for each class is $4. Our Recreation Director, Tina Connolly, has arranged for our borough gym to be available for walking Monday through Friday from 1 to 2:30. So in the bad weather, if you'd like to walk a little bit, you can go to the gym. Our breaking ground for the boardwalk last Wednesday was a fantastic event with our governor once again in attendance. The ongoing support for Belmar from our Governor Christie has been amazing and very much appreciated by our residents and council. I was pleased that he does not support a coastal committee at the legislative level to oversee the rebuilding of seashore communities. He understands the need for the towns to develop and rebuild on their own with municipal and input from residents. Area food pantries were notified through Colin Connolly's offices regarding the surplus from our post-Sandy Relief Center. These agencies were invited to the Belmar Arts Council property to take what they needed. We thank the Belmar Arts Council staff for their offerings of space and assistance during our recent devastation. I have information from Michael O'Connell, who is on our ADA committee. This says the governor signed into effect a new law to try and stop those people who wrongly use handicap placards to get good parking spots. And what it says, under previous law, handicap placards used and issued to individuals with a disability did not have expiration dates. This has led to situations in which individuals who receive a tag while temporarily disabled continue to use the tag and the privileges it confers, even after it's no longer needed. So under the Singleton, I hope I get these names correctly, Bersicelli and Gutierrez law, the following changes will be made concerning the issuance and renewal of temporary and permanent identification cards and placards for individuals with disabilities. The term handicap will be replaced with person with a disability, in keeping with current state law that requires offensive or outmoded terminology to replace with more acceptable current language. All disability windshield placards will be issued with a prominently printed and displayed expiration date. Permanent person with a disability identification cards and placards would be required to be renewed every 3 years, and the certification of medical professional will be required for the issuance and or renewal of a person with a disability identification card or placard. So I thought that was an interesting piece of information to mention tonight. Also, Coastal Habitat for Humanity, their Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative program is up and running, and the people there are very willing to help those people who suffered such destruction of their homes with the Superstorm Sandy and who cannot afford the cost of repairs or construction. If there's someone in the community whose home has fallen into disrepair, our social services director has forms that you can fill out. So if you know of anyone who could benefit from this program, please alert them to this fact. Also, on a final note, if you know of anyone who has been recently diagnosed with breast cancer or is going through treatments for the disease and would like our support from the Belmar Cares organization, they can email me at ctv@verizon.net. Belmar Cares is our local breast cancer support group, and we always reach out to be of assistance as needed. That's what I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question. I'm very concerned about the FEMA checks. Any movement on us receiving FEMA checks? Any idea when they're coming in? Are we all approved?
It's actually a topic of our governor's call this morning.
Okay.
And so we are doing a full court press on the Office of Emergency Management, who is actually the one who authorizes the release of that fund, and everyone told us we're close.
Okay. Was the boardwalk, the term, you said approved, like, he said the boardwalk, they approve it before they cut the check. Was that all completed?
The only two project worksheets, PWs, have been submitted so far is for emergency protective measures and debris. The project worksheet for the boardwalk is still underwriting.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Sure. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nicolay?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on what Claire had said about Coastal Habitat for Humanity. I do a lot of volunteering with them. They've had a great group. They're right in Spring Lake Heights. So obviously, if you need their assistance, reach out to them, but also if you're able to help rebuild homes, please reach out to them to get started. I believe they're starting in less than a month. Just want to touch on a few things regarding, let's see, the elementary school. The Belmar Elementary School Administration is proud to announce the formation of the School Health Council, the SHC. This group of parents, community members, school staff members, food service personnel, and administrators was formed as part of achieving one of our many goals for 2012 strategic plan. It's committed to promoting a healthy lifestyle to the children of the school. They're working on developing the development of a school party policy, a fitness letter, and the creation of a community garden. The first Walk to School Wednesday is going to be January 30th, and the staff members of the school will be meeting the students that are coming into the school early at 7:30 and bring them into the cafeteria for a free healthy breakfast. So they'll be doing that every couple months. The first annual meeting of the Strategic Planning Council is for February 6th, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Progress of the action plans for the student achievement, communication, school culture, and technology and facilities, which were developed this past year, will be reviewed. All teachers and education specialists will be trained on January 21st in the new teacher evaluation system, which is required by recent legislation EE4NJ, aimed at improving teacher performance and guidance of effective practice. And lastly, for the school, the Scripps District Spelling Bee for 5th through 8th graders will be held on Thursday, January 17th at 9 o'clock at Monmouth University. And I'm very happy that my new alarm clock is the sound of machinery up on the beach pounding in the pilings at 7 o'clock. So it's a wonderful sound.
That's good noise.
Yes, it's great noise.
How long will we live?
Yeah, my kids dance to it every morning. It's quite nice. So,
I didn't like it, so.
you can hear it. So, progress, great progress. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
It's been a while since we've had a full-blown council meeting, I think. Going back almost a month now, because we had a reorganization. So there's a tremendous amount to talk about, but we've already taken up a lot of time, and we have other things to get to. So I'm going to be as brief as possible. I thought our groundbreaking last Wednesday was excellent. Governor Christie was here the day after the storm, came again for a town hall meeting in our gym, and then came for the groundbreaking, and he's committed to coming for a ribbon cutting, which we'll have leading up to Memorial Day weekend. It's our goal for this summer to drive tourists to Belmar to support our small businesses as much as possible. And we're going to work with our small businesses to make sure that they're up and running for this summer as well. There is good news about Ocean Avenue and the fact that we have pilings going in. There's going to be 2 machines, hammers working. So far, they've made great progress. They've already started right by the Fishing Club, and they're at 3rd Avenue already for the one. But this means that Ocean Avenue is going to be closed
I know, we know.
For all intents and purposes, there may be a time here and there when it can be open, but we have to recognize that it's a construction zone. If you go up there, and I'm not encouraging you to because you're not supposed to, but you would see machines backing up, moving giant pilings. Obviously, you can hear all around town the hammer itself operating. It's a liability to the town for us to open up that street while they're working. So for all intents and purposes, that street will be shut down till the end of to the end of April. We've already started looking at, the bathroom facilities we're gonna need up there, the trailers. We're gonna have to start picking the lights soon. Unfortunately, we will not be using the decking that we hoped for, that was recommended by our engineer to make the boardwalk as strong as possible. The reason why is purely simple. There are a group of out-of-town, out-of-state activists who threatened to use the courts to slow us down, to hold us hostage and our small businesses hostage. Our borough attorney was very confident we would have defeated their injunction and defeated their appeal. However, the courts being the courts, it may have taken 60 days and would have stopped us for 60 days from starting the project. And we couldn't allow that to happen. Yesterday, the House of Representatives finally, 78 days later, after Sandy, voted for the funding for the projects that towns like Belmar and other towns up and down the Jersey Shore are working on aggressively to complete. That's good news. I will tell you, it's frustrating to know that Katrina hit the Gulf Coast on August 29th, 2005, and the Congress acted almost unanimously by September 8th, 2005, about 10 days. In our case, it took 78 days, but they finally did the right thing. We've made some progress working with FEMA representatives regarding our permanent dunes that we want to install. Just as a brief overview and recap of what they are, the idea that our engineers have designed, it's an engineered dune system where we take 30-foot long pieces of steel, hammer them into the ground about 26 feet, they come out about 4 feet, cover them with sand, put plantings over them so they look like a natural dune, but instead of getting destroyed like a natural dune in the past, when a storm surge comes in, it scours away the sand, but runs into a 1.3 mile long steel bulkhead. There would be, again, tremendous sand erosion because of a storm like that, but the water wouldn't have the same force going over it. It would protect both the boardwalk and also help mitigate against flooding throughout town, particularly in the southern part of town where the beach is the narrowest. And regarding narrow beaches, the other folks that we've been in touch with is the Army Corps of Engineers, because we desperately need beach replenishment, particularly in the southern part of town. You stand by the Belmar Fishing Club and look at that pier that celebrates 100 years this year and see how wide the beach is. If you stand there and look south, you start looking into the water quickly and almost as far east as the jetties go. So we need much wider beaches for future storms as well. And we've already got confirmation from the Army Corps of Engineers that our engineered dune system would in no way negatively impact us for being eligible for that replenishment. That's also part of the bill that was passed yesterday. And I also want to just recognize, because she's doing an outstanding job with all this craziness, is Colleen, who is not a typical business administrator. A typical business administrator deals with day-to-day stuff and a budget, but dealing with FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, she's an outstanding. And lastly, and kind of fun, we had a Belmar Mayor's Ball scheduled for November 12th, and that had to get postponed, but it's been rescheduled. So it's rescheduled for February 9th. It's going to be $75 a head with an ad book So if, you're a business in town like Busy Bee Laundromat, and you want to take an ad out, there's an opportunity to take out a full-page ad, or Central Jersey Bank and Trust, or Kearney Federal, sorry. There's an opportunity, and all the money that we raise will just go into our pot of money for Sandy relief, as we start to dole out the cash donations that we have. Over the last few weeks, we have been aggressive about handing out the gift cards that people donated. We want to start a process of handing out the cash that we received as well. The financial contributions to assist the families in town. And that's all for me. Do you have a question?
Yes, I have a quick question. Did we ever realize any of the money, or did we apply for a grant regarding the concert?
Yes.
Oh, actually.
We've had a nice dialogue with Robin Hood Foundation, and I'm waiting to confirm their arrival next week for a planning conversation that could potentially lead up to a grant award. So we are in the works.
Good. And could you give us an update on the Buy Board program?
Yes, and actually, the most up-to-date numbers that I have is that we have surpassed $250,000. We have 9 big kahunas that have ponied up. And what we thought was going to be a relaxing of interest post-holidays has not happened. So we are flush with Buy-Board donations and inquiries, and it remains a really popular program.
And our pre-season beach badge sales are?
We are still trending at about 45% over last year, same period.
Fantastic.
Who's our biggest big kahuna? I mean, not name-wise, but...
Our biggest single
one.
big kahuna was $15,000 from a resident in town. Lecture's over, Jeff. You don't have to.
Thanks, Joel.
No, it was Mary Capalco.
It's on my credit card. I just have a quick question.
We'll have public comment in a little bit. We'll have public comment in a little bit. Right now, there's no public comment. But yeah, so one person gave $15,000 and only wants his name listed once, even though he can do it 3 different times. So that was very generous.
Great.
And we've received contributions from as far away as California.
Yes. Fantastic.
All right, so that's all for our reports. Next is public session on our resolution calendar. The only resolution that has been pulled is the special improvement district. So that's a good point. If you're here for the special improvement district, or you want to sneak off, now is a great time to sneak off before we continue on with this. Not that we want you to sneak off, we want you to stay here, but I'm sure there's some good shows on it.
I would like to note that I believe we have one more resolution coming up to the resolution agenda, which is the resolution authorizing the advertisement for sealed bids for playground equipment. That one will be moving up.
Correct.
To the resolution calendar.
Not the consent agenda.
Correct.
Well, we're going to have to amend that then.
Yes.
So let's do that now. So I'll make a motion to amend the consent agenda to remove the resolution regarding going out to bid for playground equipment.
I'll second.
Councilman Duncan?
Yes.
Councilman Govern?
Yes.
Councilman Booth?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes. So now that one is going to be on the resolution calendar. So any public comment questions on the resolution calendar? If you're interested, just raise your hand. Just resolutions? Yes.
Does that include the declaring the town an area in need of rehabilitation? Is that part of it?
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a question about that.
Just well.
David Schnack, 302 C Street. We have to have state permission, or have this invoke this state statute in order to give tax abatements for improvements to properties. Is that right?
Well, no, the state statute allows us to provide tax abatements, but you can only do it if you go through this process. So in other words, we couldn't simply abate your taxes because you're the nicest guy in town. We have to go through the process, and that's. I mean, it's not as if it's a tool that municipalities can use. But you have to work within state guidelines, absolutely.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we pass some kind of tax abatement code last year? I remember asking about that because originally it was supposed to be subject to the approval of the council, and I objected to that. and then it was just anybody as long as their taxes, you know, that the taxes were, isn't that, I thought there was something already on the books, some kind of tax abatement.
We spoke about it, but nothing ever moved forward.
Oh, you didn't do it? Is that because we weren't allowed to do it, that we need this?
No, you just have to go through this process.
So we would have had to have gone through this process then?
Yep.
So we never actually did it? Huh?
We just spoke about it.
Oh, okay. One other thing, I think this is a part of the consent agenda. It's about declaring the boardwalk area, having more flexibility by declaring it in need of rehabilitation or redevelopment. So, and I think it's a great idea to call in private developers and have them actually build the buildings. You know, I've talked about this before. My question is, so you're going to entertain like different proposals from different private developers that you know, or that, you know, or from town or wherever, that have different ideas about, you know, what to put up there as far as what the buildings look like and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Right. So, what is the role of this beach redevelopment advisory committee that you appointed at the reorganization meeting? They're going to meet with them or something, or they're going to, or like how does that going to work? Like if the town's not going to actually design and put up the buildings, if we're going to entertain proposals from private developers and then just work out a land lease with them for what exactly would be the role of this advisory committee then?
Well, the idea of declaring an area in need of redevelopment allows us the flexibility.
Right.
So let's say we decide that a building like 13th Avenue Pavilion, Matisse, we would want to do that. But the Taylor Pavilion, let's say we don't want to do that. So the Taylor Pavilion, maybe the borough builds and operates, but the old Matisse, maybe a private concern builds, operates, and pays a land lease. So it allows us flexibility, but the idea of the committee is for residents to give their input, and also for, you know, architects who have ideas, or engineers that have ideas, and also for businesses that say, hey, listen, you know, here's an idea we have. You know, we would like to come in, you know, and build a two-story building where Matisse was. Here's what we like to do on the first floor, here's what we like to do on the second floor, here's a balcony. You know, the idea is that.
But they would come here, they wouldn't come to the advisory committee. They would
Probably
come
go to both. Ultimately, everything has to go through the council. The committee is an advisory board. But let's say someone goes to the advisory board and they have a great idea, it ultimately has to come to the council. Correct.
Yeah, so a private developer, they would just like any other development going on in town, they would just like Jack Baker's did, they would just come to the governing body, not to the advisory committee. Like, yeah, the Tower Pavilion, yeah, maybe they have some design ideas or something for something we're gonna build, but a private developer, they're gonna build what they wanna build, and then, you know, subject to your approval or maybe adjustment or something.
But also, let's say we don't go that route. Let's say at the end of the day, we're not happy with what we get from private developers, and we end up building the 13th Avenue Pavilion ourselves all over again. So it just gives us flexibility, but it doesn't cut out the role of the council at all.
You mean the role of the advisory committee?
Both. I mean, you could skip the advisory committee in theory, but in practice, that wouldn't be very smart. I mean, why wouldn't you go before them?
Yeah, but I'm confident that the private developers might come up with some very, very appealing things, so hopefully.
I agree, that's why we're going to do it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
I'll be as short as possible. This is pertaining to the...
Just name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ted Eman, Oakwood Road, Belmar. This is pertaining to the rehab resolution to go to the planning board, all right? So I have a copy of it, and it says that, in the preamble, it says that the Borough Council believes the entire borough of Belmar, the borough and the county of Monmouth, the rehabilitation area satisfies the criteria to be designated as an area in need of rehabilitation. So I'm asking the other council members, do you agree with that? Do you believe, with your knowledge of the criteria within this act, that indeed the entire town of Belmar meets the criteria? Claire, Brian, Jennifer.
Probably a better question for our attorney. Bill, you want to come up and address that?
Well, they're going to vote on it.
Right,
So I'm particularly asking them because I voted for them to be my representative, and they're gonna vote on this.
And you're asking legal questions, we're gonna have our...
No, I'm just repeating. This is not a legal
Right, this is the
question.
gentleman who wrote it, so...
I know, but it's not a legal question.
Do you want to explain the criteria?
Now, can I finish, please? Can I finish? Please.
You had a question?
I'm getting to that.
No, that was a question. No?
No, my question was to the council members, since they are going to vote yea or nay on this. I'm asking the council members who are about to vote on this, do you believe that it satisfies the criteria as set in the Act 4020 blah blah blah, that it's the entire town of Belmar could qualify for rehab under this act?
Can I just clarify before you?
Yes, please, thank you.
You can ask whatever question, I just want to.
I am.
The purpose, the criteria under the statute is whether the structures or infrastructure in town are over a certain age. The purpose of the planning board is, what you're voting on tonight is you think it may satisfy. What you're asking the planning board to do pursuant to the statutory scheme is to investigate what you believe and make a report and recommendation to them. And then that will come back, and then you will have the full benefit of that investigation.
Right. I understand that. The resolution under exhibits that April has her name to here, and you said that you prepared, has one statutory criteria, which is our sewers and our water system is over 50 years old, and that's the only exhibit there is. That's the only statutory criteria used.
Okay.
Correct?
Correct.
I'm correct. Okay. So since we're using the criteria, only the statutory criteria, and I have a copy of the other things, one of which must be also met. So the next page, there are 3 statutory criteria, correct? And the one chosen here is 2, which states in the act or the law, more than half the housing stock, blah, 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 or a majority of the water and sewer infrastructure is delineated area at least 50 years old and is in need of repair and maintenance. So that's in here. So when the Borough Council votes on this, they're saying that that's the reason why it meets the criteria. But the Act clearly states, this is the 40A, 12A. On the next page, it must also meet a series of one of these or more of these. And that's why I made copies of them. Do you want to see them?
You'd like to present them? Sure.
Great. So the first page has the statutory one, which is memorialized in your resolution. Why are you going to the planning meeting? Because you say our sewers and our water system are over 50 years old. But the Act clearly states that one of these other things must be, and you start to read what they are, and council. The purpose of this Act, basically, why we have this Act, is towns had blighted areas, places that were going to, you know where. They had businesses, abandoned businesses, and we addressed that too. Our town took on, with the Seaport Village, we took on the worst section building-wise and designated it, right, as a local, right, redevelopment. Got it. I have never, I know you say, Mayor, that Woodbridge Township did this, but to designate an entire town in need of this, unfortunately, eminent domain is tied to this.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not, sir.
It is.
It's not.
It's in the law.
It's tied to redevelopment.
Yes, but it's not separable under this Act.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm sure you have an outstanding point to make. What would that be?
Okay, well, I'm asking, all right, so I'm asking before the council, right now, it says that we meet the criteria to ask the question, do we meet that criteria? Because when you see the next sheet of A, B, C, and D, they talk about the things that are always addressed in this kind of act and in a situation where you want to do rehab. It has to do with the quality of buildings and everything. And remember that it has to be over 50%. And I asked you who live here and anyone around me that lives here, why would you live in a town if over 50% was in need of rehab? Really? By the descriptions that you see on that next sheet, A, B, C, or D. So I'm asking you to consider that. Also, we'll have to hash out the eminent domain at another time then, but thank you.
Sure. Yes, David, so I gotta come up front.
David Marola, 12th Avenue, Belmar. I'm going back to what David was talking about earlier, the redevelopment on the beach. You guys, or at least Mr. Mayor, you are look forward to having private companies come in and telling you what, or telling you what they can do at the beach. Where does that put the businesses like myself in?
Well, the pavilion you were at was 8th Avenue Pavilion.
Right. And I know you just mentioned also that each one could be individual and everything else, but once this process starts happening and you get people in to say that we can do this.
I can assure you that every business owner that had been operating a business on this before Hurricane Sandy will be involved in this the entire way through.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes, Gene.
Eugene Kramer, 4th Avenue. I'm commenting in reference to the resolution 2013, no number, at least the copy that I have. This is pertaining to the need for rehabilitation. I guess the first question, Mayor, are you voting on this?
Yes.
Why is it titled then Resolution of the Borough Council?
I'm a member of the council.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why is there distinction made between this and the other resolution where it's clearly stated that it's a resolution of the mayor and the council?
They tried to fire me.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a typo.
Okay. Moving on to typos. The fourth whereas with the rehabilitation makes reference to attached Exhibit B. I have an Exhibit A attached, but I do not have an Exhibit B. Is that another typo?
I don't know. Do we have an Exhibit B? I don't see why we would.
The B would be the report that would be presented to the planning board. If that hasn't been prepared yet, then it can't be attached. Sometimes it's prepared before it gets to the planning board, it's prepared as it.
But that report will be presented to the planning board as an Exhibit B.
Addressing the criteria that are set forth in the rehab statute.
Thank
you. Same paragraph, and I believe this is the report that you were talking about. Prepared by the Borough of Belmar Department of Planning and Development. Now, I've looked on the borough webpage, and I've lived in town over 42 years. To the best of my memory, we've never had a Department of Planning and Development. Is that incorrect also?
Mr. Northgrave? It was the Department of Planning and Development.
You have a plan. I mean, it's the planning director. Whether it is an in-house function or a consultant. I would imagine for a town of 6,000 people, you may not have an employee who's the planning director, but you have a planner, and that is the person who prepares this report and would be. I understand the semantic difference of a department as opposed to a planning director, but that is the.
There could be one person in the department.
Right. There is no department, though. Right. In other words, this is incorrect.
Well.
Did you read this, Mayor?
I did not read that fourth whereas, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, and it also makes reference to an Exhibit C that was prepared by this non-existent department. Okay? Where's the Exhibit C?
Just addressed.
It is to be developed, which is at the direction of,
Excuse me?
it will be developed at the direction of the leadership. Right, Phil?
Yes.
It'll, both Exhibit B and C will be forwarded on to the planning board.
There is no Exhibit A. Apparently I'm being called to task here for some typos, but there is no Exhibit A. Exhibit B is the resolution that will come back before this body if there's a positive recommendation from the planning board. Exhibit C is the document we spoke about a moment ago, which is the criteria that would be determined, the engineering/planning report that would determine whether essentially the assumption you're making tonight that you are going to meet the criteria will be verified by the planning department, planning board, and they will report back to you, and they will either say, yes, you were correct, it does meet the criteria, or no, you were incorrect, and therefore it does not meet the criteria, and you should not act on this resolution. My apologies for the typo.
I agree, you should not act on the resolution. It also makes reference to Exhibit C as being Main Street Rehabilitation Study. This resolution, as proposed, is for the entire borough. Why would it just be labeled the Main Street Rehabilitation Study? That apparently is another typo. Janet O'Meara, this is very hard to, this is like trying to hit a moving target here. I think this would be better handed back to the people that prepared it and to proofread it. There's no reason for that. There's a lot of competent attorneys. In fact, New Jersey has a flood of attorneys. And, I think we should, we're paying taxpayer money here for something that appears that nobody had proofread. Thank you.
Point taken. Yes, sir.
Bill Strauss, Oakwood Road. Going back to the entire borough being designated as a redevelopment area, I'm not singling this panel out at all, but maybe even in future administrations, how do I know somebody's not going to come to me and say my house doesn't meet certain criteria that the politicians or the administrators or whoever sets in this town is going to tell me I need to do this to my house?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Here, remember, the idea of passing this is to allow for tax abatements. We'll have a sunset on that. But we also have a sunset on the area placed in need of rehabilitation?
There's nothing about an area in need of rehabilitation that requires repairs. It says simply, if you choose to make repairs, these are the things we can make available to you.
I guess the question is this. Let's say 2 years from now, we're done with the abatements and we don't want to have the area in need of rehabilitation anymore. What action would the council take then? What, if any?
You mean to rescind the designation?
I guess so, yeah.
You could
just by
adopt
resolution.
a resolution then.
Man, it's not about taxes. It's about somebody in elected office coming and telling me what I can and can't do with my property. That's what it's about.
This doesn't tell you what you can do.
Well, I don't trust that because you're saying that. But how do I know the next mayor's not going to say, you know what, Mr. Strauss's house doesn't meet our standards based on what we see for the future of this town. And you have to do this, or you have to tear down your house and build another one. How do I trust that? If you designate the entire town, my house has got nothing to do with Sandy damage. Nothing. And you say the entire town, that scares me. And I don't want to be scared by anybody. You or you're after you. Do you understand that?
Understand.
Okay, I just want to make clear to all of you that I don't want my house being part of a redevelopment. And I have more to ask a little bit later. Thank you.
Joel?
Joel Waldman, 1201 B Street and 803 Ocean Avenue. I'm not going to be adversarial here. I've been reopened at my Belmar Fitness Gym since November 19th, as soon as the power came on for the beachfront. But it's very difficult for me to do business with Ocean Avenue closed, but I understand that.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but we're just having comments or questions on the resolution calendar.
Okay.
What you're talking about really doesn't address anything in the resolution calendar.
Well, what I'm talking about is the residents only keep out sign at 8th and A and the concrete barrier. That is, numerous people have called me and said, are you guys open? Are you still standing? They won't go past that sign. I guess I'm one of 2 or possibly 3 businesses on Ocean Avenue open, the Dolce Vita, myself, and Jimmy's Pizza. And it would be nice perhaps if we got a little mention on the borough sign on 10th and 35 or something to let people know that we're open. Is that possible?
We're working through a policy on that, and I don't mean to be difficult. We're going to have public comment at the end of this, but right now all we're talking about is resolutions.
Okay.
And what you're talking about is not actually on a resolution.
All right, it's way past my bedtime, so I just wanted to tell you. Thank you.
Joel's going to single-handedly knock down the ice house tonight.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Joel. Any other questions, comments on the resolution calendar only? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion for resolution calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. First resolution I am abstaining from, is that correct?
So moved on the resolution authorizing payment of bills.
You have a
So
second?
moved.
You have a second?
Second?
Councilman Dyke?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
I abstain. The next resolution again is pulled from the resolution calendar. That's the budget for the special improvement district. Next is a resolution appointing and confirming municipal auditor. I'll offer and move for its adoption.
Second.
Councilman Dyke?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
What happened to our old order? Why did we change it?
Seemed prudent to change auditors every once in a while. I started, been here a few years. This auditor had been here years ago, so he's familiar with Belmar and our quirky budgeting. But seems to make sense to change on occasion. It was actually a common suggestion.
There's a really great opinion and guidance out of the Office of the State Comptroller that recommends that municipalities consider alternating or rotating auditors every 5 to 10 years. And our previous auditor, great guy, had him for 8 years. Tom Fallon of Catholic was previously an auditor in the borough, and he's coming back. Fresh.
Well, he was here already.
He was here 8 years ago.
Okay. Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Okay, next one. All right, resolution authorizing temporary appropriations, authorized by NJS 48, blah, blah, blah. I'll offer and move for its adoption.
Second.
Councilman Dyke?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Just explain this real quick, Mayor, if you can.
You want to explain this, Colleen? You know this better than me.
Sure. Now, this is, I hate to call anything in the $3 million mark routine, but this is a routine measure to provide for essentially a temporary budget, for allow us to continue to operate in 2013 as our formal budget is promulgated.
Do we do this every year?
Yeah, our budget starts January 1, but the state budget doesn't start until July 1. And we really can't put together a full budget until we know what funding we're going to receive from the state, although that's been dwindling over the years.
So we do this every year? We did this last January?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Did we?
I remember the recreation budget was always a temporary budget the first couple of months of the year.
Okay. And when's it end? Just a temporary budget? Just March?
3 months, Billy?
Okay. Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Next, a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, requesting the Borough Planning Board to review and provide recommendations as to set forth the Borough of Belmar satisfies the criteria to be designated as an area in need of rehabilitation. I will offer and move for its adoption.
Second?
Councilman Dyke?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
You know, I see the big difference between the word rehabilitation, which is what we're voting on, and redevelopment. We're not voting on the redevelopment of the entire town. It's the rehabilitation, allow people to improve their property values. I mean, improve their buildings. That's a no-brainer. We're not gonna go and tell you, you have to improve your house. So it's rehabilitation. I vote yes.
Councilman Dean?
Question, the list here, there's a lot of words, deterioration, substandard, condition, vacancy, abandonment. I don't understand why we're doing it. Is there any downside to this? I mean, is there an eminent domain? Why do we use all these words just to give a tax abatement?
I didn't draft the statute. I will not presume to criticize our legislature, but perhaps I would have written it somewhat differently. There is, if you alluded earlier to the 60 pages of the statute, if you look at it closely, it says to exercise eminent domain, you need to declare an area in need of redevelopment. To declare an area in need of redevelopment, you need to find one of 7 or 8 criteria that includes a whole series of things, none of which are before you right now. What you have before you is an area in need of rehab. So you can't use eminent domain, nor can you, I heard one gentleman say that he didn't want to be forced to make improvements to his property. You can't. You don't have that power. The only way you can exercise that power would be to condemn someone's property. You can't condemn it under rehabilitation. And in fact, when I discussed this initially with Colleen and the mayor, that was why we limited even the area in need of redevelopment, which is in front of you, we limited it to public property. So despite the fact that this council has made a decision never to exercise eminent domain, you would never be able to under that ordinance anyway, because it doesn't affect anyone's property except for your own. No, you can't. There's nothing you can do. All you can do is you can change the zoning if need be, and again, that's going forward, not going back. You can't zone someone's property out of use, and you can offer a tax abatement if you so choose. That's the advantage of rehab.
So this does not give this municipality any more power over private property that it doesn't already have, just the tax abatement.
The only power it gives you is to allow for someone to make an improvement to their property and to abate what would otherwise be the taxes on that property for a period of time.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
I'm sorry, Jim.
No, go ahead.
Didn't we take a stand when we read and we learned of all the problems along Brandeis Island? And I think you initiated it, that we had, you drafted an ordinance or suggested, I think Mayor Pringle was mayor at the time, that we would absolutely never, ever engage in eminent domain. And I think that this mayor, who was councilman at the time, brought that to the attention of the council, and we voted on it, and I think there was an ordinance that was crafted.
Yep.
So I think that we have made a very strong stand against that, and I don't see, in my humble opinion, I don't see how that would come into play here.
It doesn't. You have no power to do it anyway.
It's legally.
Legally, you're without power.
So
you're without power to do
I
it.
think we can allay the fears of the people
Absolutely.
who have concerns regarding this. Thank
Absolutely.
you. I appreciate your legal opinion.
Thank you.
You know what, real quick, I mean, I don't like all the words we use, and I don't agree with all this, but the way you're explaining it, if it's just for the tax abatement, I have no problem with that. And that's what you're saying, you're going on the record as that, so I'm voting yes.
Being taped twice.
And I'm very happy to do so, and if you want a legal opinion written by me, I'd be happy to do that as well. Thank you.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes. Next resolution of the Mayor and Borough Council for Belmar and County of Monmouth, New Jersey, directing the Borough Planning Board to investigate whether certain properties should be designated as areas in need of redevelopment. This is for the boardwalk. I'll offer and move for its adoption.
Second.
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Gover?
Now, this is for redevelopment of the boardwalk area, not of a person's not of someone's private property. For redevelopment of public property, yes.
Councilman Dean?
I think it's a great idea, private partnership part, so yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes. Next, a resolution awarding contract for purchase and installation of an elevator at the Belmar Public Library, which it desperately needs. So I'll offer a move for its adoption.
Second?
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Governor?
I hope we get one where the door doesn't take 5 minutes to close, you just stand there.
Here's hope.
I vote yes.
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Thanks, Bill. Resolution awarding contract for electrical services at the Belmar Marina. Our electric service was crushed by Hurricane Sandy and needs to be replaced. I'll offer a move for its adoption.
Second.
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Governor?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Resolution appointing members of the Belmar Shade Tree Commission. I'll offer a move for its adoption.
I'll second it.
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Governor?
Congratulations, Neil Sheck. Yes.
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Neil, I'm not sure. Yes. Emergency purchase. Okay. All right. Resolution authorizing emergency purchase pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-6. I will offer a move for its adoption.
Second.
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Governor?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Just explain real quick, what, is this the pump?
No, this is actually the generator that assists with monitoring our water supply.
Right, the water. Water. Okay. Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. Next is the one resolution we moved to the consent agenda. This is a resolution authorizing advertisement for sealed bids for playground equipment. I'll offer a move for its adoption.
Second.
Councilman Decky?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. For the record, Councilman McGovern abstains.
Greg.
Next is the consent agenda itself. They're considered routine. Enacting one motion, I will.
I'll make them pull one out.
Oh, okay, we're gonna pull one out.
The first one, bid for bulwark lumber, and then I have a question on the, generator for the library. So if you want to pull both out and ask, I'd like to make a motion to pull those two out.
Do you intend on voting on them? Voting yes or no?
Probably, it depends what the answer is on.
Well, why don't we ask questions first before you amend it? So what are your questions on the boardwalk?
Well, it says that the borough administrator has recommended the bid be rejected for the boardwalk lumber only bids because the borough has decided to abandon the project for revision. It says because the borough has decided. Who is the borough? I mean, who made that
That's us, the governing body. When we went out to bid, we bid for the contractors to perform the work and the contractors to perform the work and provide the materials.
Right.
The 6.6 million is for the contractor to provide the materials and the labor. So there's no need for us to go out and buy the lumber again. So that's why we're just rejecting the bid. You have to officially reject it. Because we're not going to buy lumber that the contractors get in themselves.
And this allows us to return the bid bonus to those who bid.
So, I'm sorry, this is just rejecting the lumber that we already purchased?
No.
No. When we bid the boardwalk project, we did it in a way to make sure that we were getting the best prices.
Okay.
The best price that we got was for labor and construction purchased by Epic.
Right.
That was awarded, that is work underway. There was at the same time, we issued a request for public bids for lumber independently. Just in case the best price on labor, right?
Understood.
We would provide the lumber.
Understood.
We didn't go that way, so this bid is no longer needed. So we are rejecting it, so we can return those bid bonds to those contractors, and they can go on with it.
In essence, Epic was able to secure the materials at a better price than we could.
Which we knew was an option going into.
Okay.
And you want to remove that still or no?
No, that's fine. And the library, just why do we need a generator for the library?
This is a capital improvement project. The library board has been planning for a couple of years, and within their capital improvement intentions, actually to do in 2012, it was delayed because of Hurricane Sandy, and actually proved to be incredibly needed after Hurricane Sandy. So,
What's the price?
The estimate that we have on the library generators, I don't misspeak, is $80,000. And that includes a pad, fence, and screening.
Does that library serve as an emergency station when
It certainly
everything?
could if we had power.
Is that why? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we're good then.
You want to remove that or keep it? Keep it. Okay. So I made a motion to approve the consent agenda. I think the council president seconded it, right? Let's have a roll.
Councilman Dyken?
Yes.
Councilman Dever?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicholas?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes. That's it for resolutions. Next are ordinances. There's only one ordinance on this, ordinance 2013-1. This is for first reading introduction, not for public comment. The bond ordinance providing for marina repairs and improvements in the borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, appropriating $4 million thereof and authorizing the issuance of $3.8 million in bonds or notes to the borough to finance part of the cost thereof. The reason why there's a difference between the $4 million and 3.8 is because the borough is required to come up with 5% for this type of bonding. This ordinance is necessary to repair the damage caused by Sandy. Very similar to the boardwalk. We're going to look to get whatever we end up having to pay, reimbursed at least 75%, and all the work will go out to bid. So we're estimating $4 million. Hopefully it comes in less like the boardwalk did. This is a first reading introduction. I'll go ahead and offer and move for its adoption.
A second?
Councilman Dyken?
Yes.
Councilman Dever?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
And this is FEMA reimbursable?
Yes. The storm recovery.
Yes.
Councilman Nicholas?
Yes.
Mayor Barry?
Yes, that ends our ordinance. Next is the ever fun and popular public session. We need music for that. All right, public session is very simple. If you'd like to speak, ask questions, anything like that, please just raise your hand, wait to be called on, come up to the microphone, state your name, address for the record, and you will have a 5-minute time limit. Hold on 1 second. So, who would like to go? Yes, sir. You know, you can, in your case, you're having a tough time walking.
I'd rather get up here so I can be heard, okay?
Just name and address for the record.
Yes, Bill Strauss, Oakwood Road again. All right, I just want to say to the borough and to the residents of Belmar that I've been asleep for a long time, and I apologize for that, but I woke up when Mayor Doherty wrote a letter to the editor of the Co-Star, and I felt like I was being attacked personally. He mentioned being Tea Party supporters, and you were talking about a different person, but most of what you said was already questions that I had in my head. So that kind of woke me up. So, being woken up, I have some questions, okay, concerning what appears to be the appearances of impropriety with your administration. And I'd like to ask a couple questions and see if you'd comment on that. I was online after the storm, and there was an article dated November 13th by Mark Bonanno of NewJersey.com stating you had contracted Ash Britt. I was curious why Ash Britt, a large Florida-based company, was doing debris removal for Belmar. So in researching Ash Britt Conti contact, I found out your wife was the contact person for Ash Britt Conti. Is that true?
Correct.
Correct, okay. So every article I've read online, including the League of Municipalities website, is incorrect in what you're saying. Many people in this town, I never knew what your wife did for a living, but she runs a political lobbying firm, is that right?
Thank you.
It's not?
No.
Okay. The firm that she runs in Lake Como, what do they do?
Public affairs.
Okay. I did a web search of Maggie Moran to see who her clients were and what she was working on, okay? Your wife has stated that she's separate and distinct and has nothing to do with Belmar governance, isn't that true?
You researched it.
Okay, so you're not going to comment either way on that? She doesn't have anything to do with Belmar governance, is that right?
No, I mean,
You know more than my wife does.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I took it upon myself to research Conti Enterprises of South Plainfield and found out that in the last 4 years they've handled multi-million-dollar contracts in both the New Jersey Turnpike Authority and the Port Authority of New Jersey, New York, and there is where I've noticed the appearances of impropriety. When I was researching my Public Affairs, your wife's company, okay, every site mentioned her association with Raymond Puccino, okay, her present client and former boss. and he's the vice president for the Eastern Regional Laborers Union, or LIUNA. In December, Belmar awarded the contract for the boardwalk reconstruction to Epic Management. In Piscataway, the CEO of Epic is Robert Epifano, who serves as employee trustee of Raymond Pacino's apprenticeship fund. Okay? He is commissioner of both the New Jersey Turnpike and the Port Authority, which awarded the contracts I mentioned before. Okay? Also, there's one more point of appearance of impropriety, which is when you hired Connolly, our present borough administrator, whose first job was working with your wife when she was in the State House, and her second job before coming to Belmar was working for Chris Coari, who was her boss at New Jersey School Development Authority. So there is, to me, the appearance of impropriety, and I just wanted to bring those to your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Neil? You are standing, Neil. You're violating,
Well, as I explained to the previous mayor, when the human body rises from
Neil Sheck.
Neil Sheck, 4th Avenue, right when you are sitting and you rise up, it takes, I believe, 2 minutes or maybe 3 minutes for the blood to return to your brain. And as Mayor Pringle said, well, that would explain some of the things we hear in this room. So I like to give myself a little head start. Anyway, as you know, Mr. Mayor, I sent you an email regarding the raising up of residences, and I certainly would not be opposed to people protecting their homes by raising them up. However, I've many times spoken before the council, trying to encourage accessibility for persons with disabilities in housing. And we've made great improvements in the multi-dwellings. Greg and Brett's proposal has elevators in half the units, at least half the units, because they realize how popular they are, because in their development on Route 71, the elevators were optional at extra cost, and many people opted for it. But anyway, I'm thinking if the houses are all raised up, we're going in the wrong direction as far as accessibility goes. And what can we do about that? How could we make for a more accessible town instead of a less accessible town with homes that persons with disabilities can live in and can visit? One idea I have is, would it be possible for exemptions to be granted under the lot coverage rules for elevators and ramps?
I think that's a great topic for our ADA committee as well.
Would that be something that would go through a planning board? Like we'd have to make a recommendation? Yes. I see what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, do ramps now? Well, no. I guess do ramps count towards impervious lot coverage? Do you know, Ted?
Say again?
Do ramps, ADA ramps, do they count towards impervious lot coverage or anything like that?
Not if
Building
it's,
coverage?
not if they're slotted. I mean, water runs through them, so they're impervious.
If they were built like a deck with slots in between the boards, they wouldn't be counted.
It would be counted.
So the only thing would be then, if you added an elevator and the shaft was outside of the building and it increased the lot coverage.
And people with 3-story tall homes,
Right.
many of them realize the advantage of
That's
having an
something
elevator.
we should absolutely look into, and no guarantees, but it seems to make a lot of sense to me.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Yes, Kevin.
Kevin Fay, 2002 Ocean Avenue, Belmar. With regards to the devastating impact of Hurricane Sandy, I'd like to commend the mayor, council, and all the municipal employees for doing a fantastic job in continuing efforts to rebuild the town. The unsung heroes in the offices, the public works, turned off a geyser at my house. It exploded one day. To the police department that patrols us at 2 o'clock in the morning and does a fantastic job of keeping the shutterbuggers and gawkers away from Ocean Avenue. I commend everybody's efforts. Doing a fabulous job, and thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
I've been wondering too. Kevin's house and the amount of devastation you have at your house is amazing, and how quickly you've been able to clean a lot of that up. Kevin's right on the corner of 19th and Ocean, and it's in the houses further south of you, you know, the Murphys. I mean, it's tough to look at. Amazing what you've been doing. We look forward to you rebuilding.
Appreciate it. I said one other comment, just as information. My family was twice victimized, first by Hurricane Sandy and then further victimized by an unscrupulous contractor. I do not want to wish to mention the specific name of the contractor at this time. However, I do have a recommendation for you to consider with regards to the contractors who have performed work following Hurricane Sandy. My recommendation is that the Borough of Belmar have an available list where residents can write both positive and negative recommendations pertaining to their experiences with specific contractors. This could be used by residents to choose reputable contractors. Just something to consider.
I've heard several people tell me the same thing, that they would like to be able to go onto Belmar.com and find a list of contractors that they use and how they're happy, or contractors that did not do a good job. That's it. Is it legal to do that, Russ? Sounds like a great question.
It's not necessarily we're endorsing or. No endorsing. All right, we'll see how we can put that on our website.
Okay. There's many people that have contacted me that would like that done.
You could just put down the person and what contractor they use, and then when I see, oh, this person used that contractor, I know to talk to that guy and get his opinion on him. And that way the borough's taking a neutral stance on it.
Right. Well, it's probably public record, right? If when we do permits, you have to put down the name of the contractor. So maybe we could do what Councilman Dean's talking about.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Charlie?
Hope I don't run out of my 5 minutes, you know. Going forward,
Name and address for the record, please.
Bar A has to beat the clock. I've never been
Name
there.
and address for the record, please.
And Charles Bull,
There you go.
1501 Ocean Avenue. Bar A, I've never been there for this, but beat the clock, you know, I think up till 8 o'clock you have to, you know, buy beers, and the price continues to rise. But I think it's a good idea. Maybe we should have a clock up there, you know, underneath the flag, or right, so I know how much time, we all know how much time we have, so when we talk, you know, we know if we're running out of time, we want to get our important points across first.
How about every minute we serve you a beer?
Anyway, going forward, in previous council meetings, I came before you and I made some, I had an agenda of several things that I talked about. And I'm kind of a religious guy, so I'm just going to make reference to the Bible. You know, I know there's separation of church and state, but not with me. You know, I think about the Gospel of St. John, chapter 8, Jesus, verses 31 to 34. He said, if you believe in me, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, make you free. Amen. So I spoke the truth about the things that I said the last time. And opposing to that is Proverbs chapter 6, which talks about the 7 deadly sins. And one of them, he is a liar. Wicked plans, liar, profiling, all that other stuff. So going forward, when I made those statements concerning the boardwalk, you know, I asked for answers on the boardwalk, and I don't think I was told the truth. You know, and also when I made statements about the police, I don't think I was told the truth. I mean, maybe the truth wasn't observed fully by those people, but living up on Ocean area, I know what I go through in the summertime between Thursday, okay, and Sunday night. So I just like you to think about that. You might jot that down, that When I come up here, I speak the truth, so I'm not lying, I'm not making things up about drunken and disorderliness, people out of control, bad conduct, and we're not controlling it. But some people say, what's he talking about? But if you live in town, or you live over, if you live down on 1st, 2nd, 3rd Avenue, you're not going to notice that. If you live in Inlet Terrace or any place around those areas, you're not going to see that. But if you're living around 15th and 16th Avenue on the Ocean, 17th, 18th, all the way down to 13th, 14th, you will see that. So I just was bothered because certain people made me sound like what's he talking about? There's no problem here when there is. So, remember what I said. Gospel of St. John, chapter 8, verses 31 to 33. Proverbs, chapter 6, verses 15 through 19. 16 through 19. Thank you. I'll address those things at the next meeting.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Young?
Thumbs up on there.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Borough Administrator. Just want to say that you're doing a great job. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill Young, 303 9th Avenue. And I also represent Dolores Young, 1702 A Street, senior citizen. I just want to say you guys are doing, most of the council's doing a great job. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. And the folks that are getting a little freaked out about the redevelopment program, do not stop. Keep going forward. I trust you. I know you're going to do the right thing. That's all I got.
Thank you. All right, seeing, oh yes. Question.
Joan Lucas, 303 10th Avenue. I just want to know the cop that's on 10th Avenue, 24 hours a day, why they're there.
That's one of the avenues, the arteries we have for trucks, contractors to get onto Ocean Avenue.
Okay. Are they going to be there until April?
Yeah.
Okay, because they fly down our block. They go like 90 miles an hour down our block. What?
The police do?
Police
Or
do,
the
yeah.
contractors?
Police. Yeah, they're always flying down our block.
We'll address that.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Oh, Tommy B.
Tom Volker, 301 4th Avenue. I want to compliment Mayor and Council. I'm a business person in town, as you know, and I want to compliment Mayor and Council on the very positive atmosphere that you're projecting to the world about Belmar. I'm sure it will mean additional business to us, which we will severely need during the summer. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Seeing other hands raised, I'll make a motion to adjourn. In favor? Second?
Second.
Aye.